Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Nigel Matthews, CEO of ShipQuest, the market leader in Kickstarter Fulfillment for board games in the European Union. Today, we're going to dig into the new VAT tax rules and methods for fulfillment in a post-Brexit world. Nigel, welcome back to the Binge. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, James. Oh, so excited to talk about VAT again. It's great fun.
I know we're the only two guys I think on the planet that actually get excited to talk about logistics and taxes.
It's one of those necessary evils right now, because obviously the EU is such a big market, and lots of change. Brexit, VAT changes,
all that jazz.
My head spins.
So before we get into it, for our listeners or people watching, just a quick reminder, if you go back to episode 8, that was the first time we interviewed Nigel, when we went pretty deep into what ShipQuest is all about, how logistics work around the world. Quite frankly, we talked on the different vendors and some of the sister companies or strategic partnerships you have and so forth. Great listen. Go back to episode 8. You can find that on boardgamebinge.com. Click at the top, past episodes, and you can scroll down and see our whole back catalog, quite frankly. But episode 8, we get into to Nigel's interview specifically. So before we begin, can you give us a quick overview of just what ShipQuest is for those people who don't know?
We're a logistics fulfillment partner, and we emphasize the word partner, and I think that's what we do. So we try to add value right away from the moment somebody's looking to launch Kickstarter to when they run the Kickstarter. We'll do some free social media marketing across the platform, and then about making sure that even for the launch of Kickstarter, that we help them or help our partners, i.e. publishers, to work out the most cost-effective solution for their shipping. I mean, we pride ourselves in going, whether I charge somebody £5 or £10 for the shipping, I'm going to make the same margin. So, it makes, the more cost-effective shipping we can get, we'll do that. So we consult, not all the time, because people come to us after the campaign is finished, but that's what we kind of do. And then organize or help organize a shipping plan from whatever the factory is to the various hubs, whether it's just one hub or several hubs, so we can help organize with the freight and advise again in terms of, even if they don't use our freight, what's the best way to do things, and then obviously to get their product in and pick and pack and get those out most effectively to their suppliers, but or to their backers, I should say, suppliers. But we do that in a way that it's a good experience. It's a good experience for the publisher, and it's a good experience for their backers in terms of the way that we do things. So we have a state-of-the-art portal for full transparency, and also we have CRMs and project managers. So we schedule projects in, and we work with the publisher in terms of making sure that we hit agreed scheduling deadlines, etc. as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. We even now have a little distribution arm working with publishers to distribute product called TradeQuest. We call it our turnkey solution. So when it's right from the beginning, right through the life cycle of the actual project, because a lot of people go, and the amount of times I talk to publishers, for example, in distribution, and go, so what's your go-to-market strategy for your games after the campaign finishes? And sometimes you get, I'm just going to sell direct. Other times you get, I haven't even thought about that. Can you help me? Yeah, of course you can help you. So that's kind of what we kind of do. It's, we're not a typical stack it in the warehouse, ship it out, thank you very much, give me your money. So there's we do, and the VAT, for example, as a prime example of that in terms of what do you need in order to be compliant? What do you need to be legal? And what do you need, to be successful? Because my motto is, look, and your experience as James is, the more parcels you ship, right? The more backers you get, the more parcels I ship, the more money I make. There's twofold. And if I do a good job, and typically our biggest customer, which is Simon, for example, they've been with us for a good number of years. I think it's on project number 26, 27. I think you, for example, I think on the third project with us, or about to. So we must be doing something right. We get a lot of repeat business, and we do that because of that consultative partnership approach.
So let me say a couple of things about that. One, I think it's important to note that one of the great things about ShipQuest is a bit of a modular model. And what I mean by that is if somebody needs a one-stop shop, right? They only want to deal with one group. They can deal with you, and you can coordinate the world, quite frankly. Just like Quartermaster in the States and these different companies around the world. If people are saying, well, I just want to use you for the UK, or I just want to use you for Europe, or I just want to use you for outside of North America, these are different ways you can establish a relationship. And you guys are very open and very flexible to work in all those ways, which I personally appreciate. As you said, I've used you for a couple of my campaigns now, and it's probably one of the most collaborative strategic relationships I've had across vendors in this industry, I would say. I know you guys pride yourselves a lot on that, and duly so. I mean, it's exactly as you've said here, that there's a sounding board, there's advice, there's interaction coming back. So it's not like it's just crickets on the other side until you're chasing your logistics partners. I mean, you guys are there every step along the way, which I think is just fantastic. Yeah. One of the things that kind of led from that was the actual VAT tax. So talking about the VAT tax, for instance, that's a perfect example, right? So you guys reached out to a lot of your clients. There was a huge number of people on this seminar, this virtual seminar. Was it Simply VAT or something?
Simply VAT,
Simply VAT. Yeah. And to just educate, say, here's the new rules, right? And then here's kind of what's changing. Here's how it impacts you. Lots of lively discussion. I appreciate the fact that I was able to hear from other publishers who know way more than I do. I'm new to the game, but there's some pretty established people that were on that call that had some really, really valid points. It's really cool to kind of be pulled into that kind of ecosystem. So talk to us a little bit about taxes. What's changed? Because I think that this is important to talk about, because there has been some pretty significant changes.
So I'll put a stake in the ground to say, before we even kind of go, the old adage of cost of manufacturing in terms of import. That's always been a bit of what I would say, a grey wicket. Okay, whether there was no hard and fast legislation logistics to say this is what I can do, and it could be that publishers have got it wrong all over these years, and probably have in essence. So, but the new rules that have been applied to the UK and will also be applied to the EU as of July the 1st, make it abundantly clear, that basically wherever the sale was made is almost irrelevant. The relevance is where the country of destination that it's due for. So if you sell product into the UK, you need to collect supply VAT on the sale of the product, irrelevant of where that sale has been made, irrelevant whether it's been on Amazon, Kickstarter. It does not matter. It's a supply of a product, and therefore supply is due on the total sales value of that product. And for the UK, for example, that is 20%. Now, if you were to not even use a UK fulfillment warehouse or warehouse in the UK, and you say, well, fine, I'm just going to send it from the US. I'm just going to send it into the UK. If that parcel arrives without a valid VAT number and ERI number at the border, and therefore you're saying to the customs import, I'm VAT registered, I'm going to declare my sales on this on this sale, you get it back. It will get sent back to you. It's as simple as that. Of course, you can get around that by potentially sending duty paid. So declare the value, use a courier like, say, FedEx or DHL, and they pay the VAT at the border, or the customer, for example, can do that. But the administration fees that they charge to do that. So if I want to send a parcel into Europe, duty paid via DHL, I've got to pay £15 just for the privilege to send it, plus the duties that are due as well. so that's it. So really, you need to VAT register, and you need to declare. You need to collect the VAT on your Kickstarter, and you need to register for VAT in the UK, and you need to pay. On your returns, you will need to pay VAT on that. So, you need to budget that you collect, and it's difficult because it's very odd that there's a cultural difference between, say, the US, the way that US apply VAT to your pricing or to their pricing, and the way that UK and Europe traditionally do it. It's a cultural thing, because obviously the different tax laws in the different states of the US. You set a board game which is, say, $30. It could have 5% tax in Texas and 10% in Georgia and nothing in Arizona. Just plucking numbers out of the air. I haven't got a clue. So that's it. But in the UK and in the Europe, that tax is included in the retail price. So and that's a cultural thing to do. But and you'll see a lot more. I mean, Frosthaven did it. On theirs, Starling Games in Everdale, you have a look at their campaigns, and they're very clear saying they've registered that, and they're way ahead of the times, knowing that this was coming, and that you need to collect back.
So let me just paraphrase this, because I want to make sure this doesn't kind of get too deep and go over people's. So on one hand, the prior rules were very, very gray. So many people would just ship their stuff in on a skid. They would declare, here's my manufacturing value. They pay their VAT tax based on the manufacturing value, and they thought they were clean and clear. The new rules are saying, no. You pay 20% on what the perceived value of those goods are. So what the sale is. So if somebody in the UK, for instance, gets a game, and that game is valued would retail at $50, or their pledge amount was $50, you're paying 20% on that $50, not on the manufacturing cost of that game. Correct. So first and foremost, that is a massive difference in cost and significant change that I just want to make sure publishers that are listening really take this into account. This was a shock to me. So when I was on this conference call and I heard that, I was like, whoa. So, many people know I'm working on this game called 90 Squirrels, coming out in a month, small plug. But I went back immediately and started rerunning the math, saying, oh boy, I had accounted for the manufacturing cost, a tax on the manufacturing cost in all my spreadsheets. I didn't put in at the retail cost. So I went back and did that. So the second part of what you just said is what and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're saying some publishers now are starting to say, okay, your pledge level of, for argument's sake, say the $50 is not $50. Maybe it's $60, but we've included in that $60 price the VAT tax that we're going to rebate back to the government, so you don't get hit with a bill when this package arrives at your door.
Right. Yeah. The only thing I would say to that is that I don't want to make culpability here, and I don't know. There was never a rule, a written rule, to say that the cost of manufacturing was a legitimate method. It could well be. You have a look at the rules and whatever. So it's never a case of doubt that this new VAT rule supersedes anything that would negate that. Ultimately, why is this rule coming? Well, it's not about Kickstarter. It's solely about one thing: Amazon. Yeah, it's all about e-commerce sales on a worldwide basis, where the likes of Chinese sellers or any other international sellers will come into Amazon UK or Amazon to Europe and basically undercut the competition, and by sending parcels from outside of that country, they are not having to pay VAT, and therefore putting local independent retailers at a massive disadvantage who are legally paying for tax. This is essentially why this rule has come in, is really because there's billions amount of VAT fraud coming in on individual e-commerce parcels that are being sold and sent into these countries. And right now in the EU, for example, there's still the limit of, like, if your product is valued at below 22 euros, you can send in and not pay custom VAT. That's gone. UK used to be about £15. it's called the low tariff relief, or in terms of low level parcels, that's gone.
Oh,
There
wow.
is no more, because people were a lot of people, particularly international sellers, were declaring, except the product's £30, they would declare £10, so their customers didn't get hit by the tax. So that is essentially, the main reason this VAT law has come in. And you think about Amazon as being trading since the 90s. It's taken 20 years for them to come up with this new system, and that is essentially why these VAT laws come in. And essentially, do you know what? 100%, I agree with it. I think it's fair, because the world of e-commerce has moved on to such a degree. I'm a local seller, and I sell international into the EU, but obviously when we were part of the EU, I pay my taxes. And you go, and then I look at particularly the board game market. I go, how can these guys undercut me? How can they do it? Because they're about 20% better off because they're not paying the VAT. So, and the same thing goes for the EU as of July. So it's it is fair. There's no two ways about that. And I think maybe the Kickstarter community has been a bit spoiled, but
I think it makes sense. We had something similar here in Canada, right, where there was a bit of an adjustment curve before they started finally charging taxes, and Amazon was very resistant to that, right? Of wanting, they're like, no, it's up to manufacturers. That's not our problem. It's up to manufacturers. And government started clamping down, saying, no, at the size you're at, you need to take some responsibility here and start policing this with us. So I think as long as everybody is playing on the same playing field and it's equal, then I think everybody's got a fighting chance, which is not unreasonable. I think the challenge is when there's change, and there's that old saying, no one likes change but a wet baby, right? There's an adjustment period, and helping people through that adjustment period, I think is the key. What came up on this call, which I thought was really interesting, was people that had campaigns coming up were saying, okay, this kind of sucks. I'm going to make some adjustments. I get it. Good that we had this call. I can start planning. What I found interesting was the people that said, okay, my campaign just finished and it's going to ship after these rules come into place. I didn't plan for this. What do I do? And so, I think unfortunately, you're going to have some people kind of caught in between that transition that are going to have some challenges there. What are some things that you guys are doing to help? Like, is there anything that you guys do to help people with if somebody can't register for VAT, or if they're so small, they're like, it doesn't make sense for me to VAT. Do they just not ship to the UK, or can they work at some kind of is there like an importer that could work at a deal with? They do the tax on their behalf, or is there any options in that regard?
No.
No,
I thought there was something called. No, there isn't. They have a choice, and that is that you either sell into a country and get VAT registered, or you send externally and you send duty paid. Your backers aren't going to get a great experience because of that. But
or find a publisher, I guess, locally, right? That will help. That's already ready. You can find a publisher, I guess, that's already registered, maybe as an option. Is that possible or no?
No, not really, because you've collected the money. You have collected the money on your Kickstarter, so you have that money. So you have that responsibility to give that money to the British government. It's as simple as that. So you have to play that supply back. Now you either send that product into somebody like ourselves, you VAT register, you're able to send it, or if you've got a small amount of parcels, the only other way to do it is to send. You could send duty unpaid and let your customers pay again, but that is a terrible experience because the admin fees on top. Or you send duty paid, so you pay the taxes to the carrier, and the carrier then clears the parcel into that country as your customer, as the importer of record, because it's individual parcels. And this is for consignments below, pledges or consignments or sales below £135. If it's over, then you can't do that. You have to pay import VAT and be VAT registered. So therefore, the only other way, if you've got a small amount of parcels, is to individually ship those via somebody like FedEx and pay the duty via them at the border. There is no other way around doing that. And the way that we help is, I am not a tax expert. I am, I obviously attend a lot of webinars. I can read into things, but I am not a tax expert.
Yeah.
And there's a scheme in the UK called the due diligence scheme, which we're kind of part of, which means that essentially when you open an account, you probably need to VAT register, but more importantly, you are not able to store products in the UK with a view to sell those products unless you are VAT registered. Now, our system stops that. If you don't have a VAT registration after the project's been run, because you pay the VAT at the import, then our system simply won't trigger that shipment because you're not VAT registered. But essentially, it is what it is. You have to register for VAT. I thought there was something called fiscal representation where you could use a third party, but that's not the case. So that doesn't mean what I thought it meant. But
there are services out there, right? If people need help setting this up, Amazon obviously has a service they offer where I think it's free up front, but then you get charged a pretty hefty fee on an annualized basis. Simplyvat.com, is that their website?
So simply VAT. And if anybody's interested, they can email me. I'm happy to share that. So
very great, very informative group. Yeah.
When we as our e-commerce company, we were trading on different Amazons in Germany and France. We had to eventually kind of VAT register with those guys. And we went through a company called Alabara, who are kind of well known. And from a top level, their advice is great. You get down to a lower level, and we found that we ask a question, and the accountant said, "Sorry, I'm not a tax advisor." Well, who else is going to be advised? But you do all my returns for me. So we got quite frustrated with that. So we wanted to work with a partner that acts like us, that will offer a collaboration, will always be there to give advice and guidance if anything changes. Most companies do, but not on a one-to-one level. So we wanted to work with a partner that did that. And after much searching, we found Simply VAT. And and I was really nicely surprised. So I'm kind of moving my company for my EU fulfillment over to Simply VAT at some point this year, and as you discovered from that webinar, that they do take a collaborative approach, and they do give advice and guidance on a specific issue. Now, actually, do you know what? They've gone one step further and working with one of my partners who's now showing them all the back end of Kickstarter and how Kickstarters work, because the debate was, well, should you pay tax at supply or delivery? So they're making efforts to really understand our community and our backers. So I've been really impressed with them, and honestly, I wanted to, and it's not so much a shameless plug, because I want to add value to my publishers. I'm not going to go to them. I'm not going to come to you with a bunch of charlatans who are just going to rip you off. I wanted to work with somebody that have that same ethos as we do, and so far, that's Simply VAT have definitely betrayed that. So we would highly recommend them, and their pricing, I thought was excellent. I thought to get VAT registered was excellent, and and they're flexible, because they say, if you're zero filing, you get the filing for half price, and then after 3 months, maybe you can deregister and do it again for your next campaign. So again, sound, plausible, advice in English so that people can understand. So
on my end, and I did this more than a year ago now. One of my team members actually helped me with it. Went on the government website and we went through the registration process. It is complex. There's no doubt about that. So if you are really small as a publisher and say, you know what, I can't afford to hire an outside, I got to do this myself, you can do it yourself. It's just, it's very meticulous and it's not fast. It's all paper, it's all mail. It's crazy. It's mail based, right? So we actually had to send stuff in by mail, this application. It's not like because we were out of country. In country, different story. It's all online, clickety click, and you can register fast. Same as in Canada. If you're in Canada and you're registering the Canadian tax stuff, it is fairly quick. But from out of country coming in, it was by paper mail. It was just kind of crazy. Now we're online. Now that's all set up, but the initial setup was by paper. Let's switch gears really quickly, because I want to make sure we cover off the shipping. So how have you guys adapted your business model to deal now with this post-Brexit with people? Because in the past they'd ship it into the UK, right, by the skid or by the trailer, and then you guys would kind of ship it around from there. But now it's different, right? Like you have different kind of suggestions.
Yeah, so we have a hub in Germany. So we found the right partner that wasn't a competitor, but we again had the same sort of ethos, a family-run business. They got a massive warehouse, but we've worked very, very hard to. And obviously, the late stage of the Brexit deal really kind of slowed things down.
Yeah.
But now our portal ShipQuest is now fully API integrated with that warehouse. So you as a publisher will deal with GamesQuest, ShipQuest. You will deal with ShipQuest. You won't deal with the hub in Germany. You'll deal with my staff, my customer services, my project managers, and we will do everything else. So the only last bit that is, it's always the pick and the pack and the handling. But we just did 10 containers out of there for Simon. All right, I know we know it was pre-pack, but
Wow.
they've been absolutely incredible. Now we're ramping that up. So in effect, what we're doing is adding that another hub in there, but we're not leaving our publishers and our partners to go, what do I do? We'll deal with it all. So we'll work out the freight with you, the shipping plans, to get it in there. So you can ship from within the EU for all the EU backers, and then from the UK for your UK and the rest of the world. And what we mean by that is places like Norway, Switzerland, where it's still more cost effective and where you are not offering custom friendly shipping, because obviously things like Norway and Switzerland are not in the EU, even though they're in Europe. They're not in the EU, so therefore, traditionally you haven't offered custom friendly shipping to those sorts of countries. And for a place like Turkey and Iceland and that sort of stuff, is still more cost effective to do that out of the UK. So that's kind of where we're at the minute. But
so how would that work? Like, are they going to ship then from the factory? So the publisher ships from the factory. Do they ship a certain amount of inventory to Germany, and then they ship the rest to the UK, or does it go to Germany and you guys move from Germany to the UK, or vice versa? How does that work?
It all depends on the quantity of the pallets, because there is a minimum charge when you are shipping by ocean, and the minimum charge is like 2 cubic meters as an example. So we'll work out what's the most cost effective way. We can create 2 shipments, one into Germany and one into the UK, or we can bring it into the UK under what we call a bonded warehouse scheme. So we have a partner that has a bonded warehouse. Now what that means is that when that arrives in the country, you'll only pay the VAT or the import tax on the UK proportion, and then they'll truck the rest of it over to Germany and clear it in Germany and pay the import tax there. So we have solutions and advice that either way we can do it. If it's large shipments like 4 pallets to Germany, 4 pallets to the UK, for example, then it's going to be better to create like 2 shipments in effect. So, but yeah.
And would those ratios have to be worked out in advance? So what goes into that bonded warehouse? Would you have to pre-mark what's going to Germany versus what's staying in the UK, or can you make that decision at the point? Oh, you'd have to do it ahead of time, right?
It's more expensive if they have to sort the amount of quantities in the bonded warehouse, it'd be more expensive than doing it in China or wherever you're getting manufactured for certain. But so it's a shipping plan. So they label up 1 pallet to go to Germany, another pallet to go to the UK, because obviously they're doing that anyway to send parcels into the US, or if they're using if they're doing localized fulfillment in China and Australia, same thing. So it's just another pallet with Germany written on it, as opposed to the UK or anywhere else. But and touching on that again, you need to charge VAT on your shipments going into Germany. I think is a 19%. So you need to charge the VAT, collect the VAT, and register for that in Germany. So
so your furthest ahead just to build in 20% across the board, I think, just to be safe, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the good thing we recommend in Germany, you can register anywhere in the EU. We recommend in Germany because of Essen. If ever, as a publisher, you want to go to trade at Essen, you need to be VAT registered in Germany to do that. So you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone. And as we know, I was talking to you about this the other day, weren't we? About the size, the sheer size of Essen is the Mecca. It's 3 times bigger than Gen Con. Totally different culture, and really, I would recommend if you've got a decent enough game that you should be there.
So for just for clarity on on the VAT registration, if you register in Germany, that covers you off for all of the European Union. You don't have to go to each individual
Yes.
country. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Ish.
Well, from July doesn't matter because you can
Yeah.
so basically there's something called distance selling thresholds, and that basically means if you say you're registered in Germany but you sell, today, if you were registered in Germany and you exceeded sales greater than 35,000 euros into France, you would also have to register in France.
Hmm.
And these distance selling thresholds will go from country to country. Vice versa, bizarrely, if you registered in France and you would have to sell more than 100,000 euros to then have to register in Germany. But from July, you could do a central return for all those countries. So it's via something called iOS. Can't blink and remember for a love of me what that stands for now, but it's called an iOS system. And basically, if you then go over distance selling thresholds, you can still report that onto one VAT return, and then that gets kind of divvied out. And that's one of the services that Simply VAT, I think they were talking on that webinar, that they can kind of monitor, your distance selling thresholds for each of the countries, and they can advise you then how to do returns so that you're not having to register into different countries. So right now, if you were trading between now and July, and you crossed selling thresholds, yes, you would. But from July, there's a way around that, but in terms of the way the reporting works.
So Nigel, if people want to reach out to you at ShipQuest, how best do they do that?
Through our they can reach out directly to me, Nigel at GamesQuest. ShipQuest. We GamesQuest has GamesQuest Retail and TradeQuest and ShipQuest. So I keep referring to GamesQuest as a company, but ShipQuest. So Nigel at shipquest.co.uk or fulfillment with one L. We Brits spell it with one L, not two. Yep. So fulfillment at shipquest.co.uk as well. So and I say if people are going to become or seriously talking to about our services, then we will 100%, take that on faith and share that, that webinar that we did, with our potential partners. And
that was great. Yeah.
And kind of have a look at that as well. So as kind of a value add, and the slides that I went through as well. So
what I'll do is I'll put the your web address, the URL in the show notes, just so if anybody wants to find that, shipquest.co.uk. But if you don't want to remember that or write it down, it'll be in the show notes. They can click on it. Nigel, it's always a pleasure to have you on this podcast. I hope to get you back again. I want to thank you so much for all your advice that you've given me over the past few years. Pleasure. And I wish you all the best this coming year.
Yeah, good luck, everybody. Collect that VAT. Just collect the VAT. The customers will love you still. They'll still love you. It'll be fine. So, and once it's all over, you're all going to come to Essen, and we'll have a VAT party. So absolutely. But yeah, no, it's been a pleasure.
All right, sir.
James, and good luck to you all.
Thank you. You take care. Cheers.
You too.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply join the Facebook group Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.